Hello everyone and welcome to the 2026 Chevrolet Traverse RS. This is a pretty jam-packed model with a lot of features, and we now have a key card that you can use to get in and out of the vehicle and start it up as well, which is pretty cool. Let's take a quick exterior tour, and we're going to go then take this on a POV drive if you haven't checked out our full tour and review just yet. We have a really nice shade of red here, which is an optional extra, but I think this color works well on this large family SUV, and I've always thought these look really good in this latest generation, especially with this RS trim. You have massive 22-inch wheels on this model as well, really huge side profile, and it really has a baby Tahoe-esque design nowadays, especially since it has the same wheelbase as the Tahoe. And I really like back here, the design is really sharp, very uniquely Traverse, and I love how these all get quad exhaust tips now, which are just a wild touch. Really sleek LED taillights as well. Let's hop inside. Getting in is really easy, but again, check out our full tour and review for all of those great features there. Locking into the vehicle now, and we have a very familiar space. Again, nothing too crazy is new for this 2026 model year, same powertrain and stuff, just new colors, and we have this new key card available, which is really nice. So let's pop it into drive. We have a very familiar column mounted shifter here. Put it into reverse. Pretty nice backup cameras. I always wish GM would kind of expand their camera systems to take up a little bit more of the screen, but we have overhead views, side views, we have a hitch view as well, and going up front we have some great camera views, front facing camera. So all of that works quite flawlessly in this vehicle. But nonetheless, let's hop off and start driving. And of course, we'll be starting off this vehicle around town in a more normal scenario that I think this Traverse will be driven in, day-to-day family hauling capability. And in that aspect, I still think this vehicle is quite comfortable. Now, we tested its sibling, the GMC Acadia, on this exact same architecture. They're pretty much almost the same vehicle, other than styling and interior design as well. Same engine, same chassis, same space and everything, same wheelbase. But this is a little bit more affordable than the GMC and a little bit more utilitarian in its aspects, a little bit more sporty as well. But they all kind of drive the same. They have a very commanding view of the road, I would say. You have a lot of great visibility all around you. And even though this hood is a little bit on the larger side, you do get quite a lot of visibility. Coming to a stop here, auto start stop does activate really smoothly actually, and you can disable it by pressing that button right there, and it's incredibly smooth. I don't even feel any sort of vibrations in my footwell, which is really nice. Acceleration from this turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, it's a 2.5 liter, is actually pretty smooth in all, daily driving scenarios. There's only some aspects, which when we'll get to the highway you'll see, you really do got to put your foot in it for some things, even though it has well north of 300 horsepower, which is pretty interesting. Steering is quite heavy and chunky. It reminds me of like a Tahoe in that aspect. It feels very truck-like. So if you really are looking for a 3-row family SUV that's a unibody architecture and not a full-sized truck, this kind of drives like that. It's a little bit lower to the ground, obviously, but the steering kind of gives that larger vehicle impression. It kind of gives a little bit more of a sense of stability, I would say. And since this vehicle has such a large footprint on the road, it feels pretty planted in all scenarios. This is just a really main purpose of this car really is to be hauling people and cargo around, so it doesn't really drive particularly sporty or enthusiastic, and that's not really why you would purchase a Traverse. If you want something like that, you're going to want to go to like a CX-90 from Mazda, which is a much more dynamic vehicle, or even something like a Ford Explorer in that aspect. Going over bumps, it's pretty well damped in this cabin. I would have to say overall it's pretty comfortable. A little bit on the firmer side. Damping's pretty good, but these 22-inch wheels do get in the way sometimes of kind of letting a little bit some of the bumps into the cabin. But of course, this is a top trim Traverse spec. If you hear some rattling around, that actually is the lower part of the seat belt. It's kind of bouncing around down there. There is some felt lining actually on it, but it looks like it doesn't extend high enough, and it still hits the plastic side of the seat and kind of rattles around. So I've been dealing with that the whole week. But fit and finish wise in this cabin, I really have had no creaks or rattles over the course of this week of testing. Now we do have a few drive modes to play around with, so we'll pop it into sport really quick to see what this acceleration does feel like in the vehicle. Again, pretty decent amount of power, lots of low end torque, which is nice. Whoa, and it does get up to speed pretty quickly, but as you may have just seen there, we are in front wheel drive mode. So two wheel drive mode is what this vehicle will always be in. It does sometimes have a little bit of a torque steer-ish effect with all of that power going to the front wheels. If you want to activate all wheel drive and you have purchased the all-wheel drive Traverse, you have to manually do it by pressing all-wheel drive over here on the lower left-hand side, which I think is a little frustrating. A lot of GM vehicles do this. I've always thought it was a little funky, but at least you do have it when you need to, and you can literally just press the button whenever you need, and it goes into all-wheel drive and will more evenly distribute the power. Now, we do have a configurable cluster here, so in this view, we can kind of throw up whatever we want on this left-hand side from our vehicle status page there. So if you want to throw up your trip information or fuel economy, you can put it there. I honestly haven't been getting the best fuel economy over the course of this week. It's been in the low 20s most of the time. On the highway, I did see up to around 25, and someone in this vehicle was able to do 28.4 over its short lifespan. It's a relatively new car. It only has 1,000 miles on it. So it can be a little bit more efficient than the old outgoing V6 engine from the previous generation. But that's pretty much what you're going to see around this class. It's really not bad, but to see a massive improvement over the V6, I think that could have been a little bit more of a nice thing to see, especially since even though this has a little bit more power, it isn't particularly quicker. Coming off the line here and corner, again, visibility is really great all around you. And this four-cylinder, you know, some four cylinders, and we just got out of I would say almost a competitor to this vehicle, the Infiniti QX60, which has a 2-liter four-cylinder. This 2.5-liter has a little bit of a deeper, raspier, I wouldn't say raspy in a bad way tone, but a little bit more of a throatier note to it. Definitely a unique sounding engine. Is it amazing sounding? I don't know. I wouldn't put it in that aspect, but there's a little bit more some character to it than that Infiniti's 2-liter four-cylinder that we just got out of. Again, coming to a stop, I will note that we do not seem to have any sort of auto brake hold. I've tried pushing down the brake as far as I can, actually just turn the engine back on, and I could not find a button anywhere in this cabin for that. So that would have been a really nice feature to have, especially if you're in a lot of stop and go around town traffic and you're sitting at lights for a long time. I don't really want to have to put the vehicle in park. So auto brake hold does really come in handy. So interesting that that seems to be omitted here. And again, using this infotainment system, it's a little bit of a reach. I'm sitting back in my seat here. I kind of have to reach forward a little bit to use anything. We do have Apple CarPlay, thankfully, in this vehicle. We can configure it to a whole bunch of different screens, which is pretty nice, or we can open it up to the full screen. But as of this filming, General Motors has announced that they'll be removing Apple CarPlay from all of their vehicles, both gas and electric, in just a few years, which is an incredibly disappointing thing to hear. I hope they reconsider it. Okay, folks, we're gonna head out onto the highway here. We'll get a little sense of some acceleration. Let's pop it back into sport mode for you guys just for a second. I'll pop it into all-wheel drive just so you can see how quickly it can actually transfer into all-wheel drive. It literally took, I don't even think 5 seconds. It's automatically in all-wheel drive mode for us, and acceleration doesn't feel too different. You do feel a little bit less wheel slip if there's a wet scenario on the front wheels, obviously, since more power will be going to the rear, but get into speed, it gets into gear, and once you floor it a little bit in sport mode, the transmission can go into this performance shift mode, which is pretty interesting. And if you do want to use the paddle shifters, you have to press this little L gear icon on the steering wheel here, and let me just say right here, this is not a performance vehicle. Shifts are not particularly accurate there, but you do have them if you need them. I think it's meant for more lower speed scenarios if you're kind of stuck in the snow or mud or dust or something and you need to manage the gears yourself a little bit. But on the highway, again, I think this is another place where this vehicle will be spending quite a lot of time. We have our Apple CarPlay running, and the great thing is on our digital cluster, we can throw up Google Maps, Apple Maps, and Waze, which is something you're not going to be able to do allegedly in just a few years, according to General Motors, which again, I think is pretty annoying. As a consumer, I like to have more choice. Physical climate knobs are really easy to use if you need to make an adjustment on the fly, and this particular Traverse and a few other trims can also get the absolutely wonderful General Motors Supercruise system. So all you have to do is drive on a road. If it's available to use on a road, you'll have a giant icon pop up here. If you're in your assisted view screen, if you're in a normal screen, you'll see that icon still pop up there, and all you got to do is press the Supercruise icon and you are on. You can take your hands off the wheel and keep your eyes on the road, but you still have to do. Making speed adjustments is very easy on the left-hand side of the steering wheel here. You can change your distance and following distance right here, which is pretty easy. And I believe you can go into a regular cruise control mode as well if you don't want to be in hands-free driving. But as we've seen on all General Motors products with Supercruise, it works like a charm. I've personally traveled well north of like 20 miles on Supercruise with very, very minimal intervention, really only when there's like a construction zone or anything. It's just so good. We have lane change assist here, so we can automatically change lanes, or you can initiate one yourself by pressing the turn signal stalk right there. It's really confidence inspiring. I always like this cool icon on the steering wheel here, though this vehicle does not appear to get the new hands-on Supercruise system that we just tested on the Cadillac Escalade IQL, as well as the GMC Hummer EV SUV. That system allows you to use Supercruise essentially, which really just means the steering assist, lane keep assist, all those functions on roads that don't have hands-free driving, which is basically a really advanced adaptive cruise control with steering assist system that many automakers offer. But for some reason on this vehicle, and I guess older Supercruise systems, you're either in full self or full hands-off driving, or you're in just a very basic adaptive cruise control system with no lane keep or lane centering assist. It's really just kind of pogo sticks you in and out of the lanes, but you do have to have your hands on the wheel at all times. But nonetheless, this works really well. As you can see, it takes its corners really well. I really don't have to intervene that much, but you do always have to have your eyes focused on the road. It's trying to change lanes here as it feels the car in front of me is driving too slow for my speed. You can deactivate this automatic lane change function and have it only be a manual adjustment there. But as you can see, it's pretty confident, inspiring, and you do definitely still have to watch your side mirrors and everything, just in case any kind of funkiness may happen. Otherwise, in this interior, it's pretty quiet as well on the highway. For such a large, now a little bit more boxier vehicle, I really don't notice any intense wind noise coming from any of these really large windows, which is nice. We do have a sunshade for our large panoramic glass roof, which is an option that does help to reduce interior noise just a little bit. And we do have a pretty solid Bose audio system in this vehicle as well. So I'm going to pop up our test track playlist here, and we'll have a little bit of a listen to what this sounds like. We have a giant volume knob up here that we can mute really easily with the touch of this little button right there, which is also really cool. And we have steering wheel adjustments for our volume on the right hand side. And we'll mute it there like that. So a little bit of some rattling at the higher volume levels on some of these panels down here I just noticed, but otherwise it's a pretty clear, good run-of-the-mill Bose premium audio system. Nothing too crazy, nothing too out of this world. Obviously, you're not going to expect that out of a Traverse, but for general audio listening needs, I think it's totally just fine, okay. Nothing outstanding though in this class, and there are some pretty good audio systems in this class that you can go for if that's something that really does matter to you. Otherwise, guys, this all new Chevrolet Traverse is colossal. I think it looks way better than it ever has. For 2026, we do have a little bit better packaging and features, like I mentioned, like that key card, as well as some new color options to choose from. And packaging wise, when you go into the configurator, it's a little bit different, but this is just a little mild update for this 2026 model year. And I do love these rear view camera mirrors. Once you go with them, you never want to go back. They are just so handy to use, especially when parking and maneuvering around, especially if you also have a lot of stuff in your trunk or kids in the third row. Otherwise, I still think this 2026 Traverse is a pretty good vehicle to look at if you're considering a 3-row large SUV that can haul your family and cargo around. It's a pretty usable space nowadays, and if you want to downsize from something like a Tahoe, I think this is a pretty good option to look at, especially if you are sticking within the General Motors and even just Chevrolet family. And there's quite a different few trims to select from. You can go for the little bit more luxurious high country or step down to a few lower trims as well. But I would love to see some sort of hybridized powertrain come down the road, plug-in hybrid or something, to really help diversify this product lineup over at Chevrolet. As always, guys, as we now end off in traffic, I'm going to attempt to reconnect our Supercruise, but it doesn't seem to be working right now, and I will end up this video. Thank you guys again for watching, and please like, subscribe, and follow Allcarnews for more coming down the road. Cheers.